All right, so this is a Mardu Knights variation, but this deck list is very, very different from the other Mardu Knights list we had played previously. So the other Mardu Knights list we have played had the other Mardu Knights list that we had played previously was much lower to the ground and was more all in on the 3 colors. Notably, it was playing the world champion Javier Dominguez's red 1-drop in addition to these 1-drops. This deck is a little bit more mid-rangey, and at its core is a black-white Knights deck that's splashing red for Inspiring Veteran. One thing that's a bit of a concern to me looking at this deck list is that if we look at the mana, in order to make the red splash work, we're playing Tournament Grounds. But Tournament Grounds doesn't cast Murderous Rider, and it doesn't cast Circle of Loyalty. And we notably only have 4, 8, 11, 12, 13 white sources for Circle of Loyalty, which is pretty low for a white card. And we only have 8, 12 black sources. So the consistency with which we're going to be able to cast Swift End and Circle of Loyalty is likely going to be pretty low. Yeah, it doesn't cast the Adventure half. This card's not really playable if you're just playing as a 2/3 lifelinker for 3. In some situations against like mono red, like that's the mode you want to be using. But in general, that's not why you're playing the card. So like if you cut a grounds and go up a temple, you're giving up your red sources for the Night Lord. I accidentally added a card. Well, I guess we're playing a 61 card deck with a random add. And we'll fix it during sideboarding, I suppose. Is this the card I added? It actually makes this hand keepable, huh? So I'm gonna keep. Clearly masterclass in deck edits and misclicks. Hand wouldn't be keepable without the idyllic Grange here. Bard and Trekinator. Yeah, the question we want to ask ourselves looking at this deck is splashing for this card worth making the rest of our mana incredibly inconsistent? Is the thought we need to go through. Or is like just having Circle of Loyalty good enough? It's a pretty aggressive start here, all things considered. Next turn we get to go Knight of the Ebon Legion, slam Circle of Loyalty. Welcome to Thunderdome. Enjoy your stay. Gerthunk. All right. Well, that was a good start. Sideboard here is a bit all over the place. I feel like not having a grip full of Noxious Grasp is probably wrong. Thankfully we're playing on the ladder here, so we can adjust that after we're done playing here. You don't really know what this card's for. They discard a card, lose 2 life. You draw a card, gain 2 life, get a 2/2. I think I want, at the very least, I want more Noxious Grasps. Having ways to kill Oko seems important. It's probably better than Mortify. I think I'm going to trim these, the top end. Sure. Sure. It has all my colors. I get to go 1-drop and a double 1-drop. Yeah, I like the red black knight / aggro deck a lot that we've been playing. Ooh, that's really good. Worthy Knight is a hero of the Precinct 1 sorts of cards for knights. Yeah, our opponent's playing a ramp deck though, so the mana being painful like doesn't really matter. Morning, Sassy. I'm doing well. Got a bit of a cough that I picked up from my oldest plague carrier, but swell otherwise. This card is just a huge beating. Oh, you know what this deck probably wants? Some number of Despark is probably a great... Some number of Despark is probably a great choice. Let's do this into this, actually. More like a Plague Engineer? Yeah, something like that. Jake has Death Touch. Not quite. I'm still alive. No worries, Cardboard Tech. I appreciate the donation. Yeah, I spent some time... I spent like half an hour last night like looking through the spoiler and stuff. And it really just doesn't... I feel like Seth Manfield's build is the core of what we're doing. And I just feel like that's probably the best core. He's pretty good at Magic. I feel like these decrees are probably a miss. Yes, in fact, there you go. I think a hand with Lords here is probably one of our better chances to beat them down, so let's try and scry into some red, even if these are tapped lands. Alright, no Goose on 1 is good for us. Perfect. So kind of punished for my sequencing. If I would have shocked this in, I could have played this turn, and next turn I could have gone this. Maybe I'm supposed to gamble and hope that that happens. Although, this sequencing does allow me to shock this in and play this next turn, and then this the following turn, so that's nice. Gets a good amount of pressure going. Yeah, but we could have thought about... Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, and like Wicked Wolf. Just can never win. Of all the Flame Tongue Kavus they've printed, and WotC's printed a lot of Flame Tongue Kavus in recent years, this is the best creature that kills a creature, like, by a significant margin, I feel like. Merry rotation, Miss Rook. Yep. Yeah, and I just kind of feel like this deck is like solidly aired in towards No, it's much better than Chupacabra, Jin. Because it's a real threat that sticks around, too. Yeah, it gets very large, and the Indestructible is a huge deal. There's not a lot of good things that exile at the moment. I'm like, we just never keep up with this Nissa, right? Like every Planeswalker activation is better than the spells in my deck at the moment. Yep, just super did. And this, compared to the Knights deck we had played previously that was like lower to the ground, I feel like you're really... The builds like this one just don't really have a chance against these ramp decks. Maybe we have a shot after we load up on Noxious Grasp. Maybe. But from an efficiency standpoint, I feel like we just have a real hard time. Oh yeah, fix the extra land too. Wait. Oh yeah, Despark. I want a Despark. Good call. I was like, what are my other cards I want here? Despark, sign me up. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate you, chat. Sure. I wonder if it's also possible, like, not being a Fabled Passage mana base is potentially wrong. Like, that card's been really impressive in other decks that we've played. I believe the other Mardu Knights list we played was a Fabled Passage list. You think Theros could replant mana confluence? Yeah, maybe. That would make these 3-color aggro decks go into overdrive for sure. I registered a lot of mana confluence when that card was legal. Worthy Knight plus Smitten Swordsmith is like, oh, these aren't Knight tokens. That's awkward. I don't know why I just assumed those were going to be Knight tokens. They're just humans. So this doesn't power up this card either. This card really does not seem worth it. Like the payoff we're getting from this, and like if we want our creatures to just be bigger, yeah, it's our only red card. I feel like I'd rather just have like a third circle as an extra anthem effect. Ooh, that's a good one. Death to the Dino. Icon of Ancestry could be another reasonable. We'd also like, so we could go up to like 3 of this and a 4th Acclaimed Contender, because this helps us find Circle of Loyalty. Could see that too. Just bringing our 4 Noxious Grasps here. Yeah, it would, Mega Vega. I think we're going to try that after this. It's the upside to having the flexibility to playing on the ladder as opposed to the silly constructed events as we get to make edits between matches. Is it normal that I have no deck on Stream Decker? It is not normal. Stream Decker, nothing works. It's all broken. Jack Oz, thanks for the 8 months. I appreciate it. Welcome back. Does the direct link work? The direct link, I think, should work. Does it actually load? Yeah, clicking on the link loads fine. Yeah, I just don't want to redo all of my infrastructure, Jin. I'm getting to the point where if shit's not working by the end of the week, I'm gonna change over to get everything sorted for the other one. But like, the other one notably doesn't have, doesn't integrate with my website like Stream Decker does. So like if I want to use that, I have to upload them all to 2 places. It's also very ugly. You're not wrong. That's another reason. It is at least functional though. I don't know. Part of the reason why Stream Decker is having issues because it's suffering from its success. Like the reason why Stream Decker is having issues because their volume during release time is getting destroyed. Nah, I'm gonna make changes after this match. Deal. Usually I play at least 2 games before I make changes. Cutting a color sounds extreme. It often isn't something I do from submissions, but this submission is literally cutting a color means cutting 1 card. And again, just playing more Circle of Loyalty gives me a similar effect to this card that's arguably better because this gives all my creatures 1/1, not just my knight, so it powers up those token creatures too, which is great. Favorite Broco deck so far? Definitely the Sultai Oko deck we played yesterday on stream. Decks felt very powerful and consistent. I will make a note about that, Brute Z. Probably forgot to check the bit donations. Too many long days. Alright, do you have a Veil of Summer? You do, poop. Oh, just a removal spell, deal. We need assistance. I mean, my philosophy on deck building is very simple and consistent. Identify a problem, identify a potential solution, implement that solution to that problem is the way, in my opinion, you should always approach deck building. So again, in this specific case, the problem is the mana sucks, and our payoff that we're getting, we can get from doing something else. So if this payoff makes our mana suck, and we can get that same payoff from doing something that doesn't make our mana suck, why would we want to keep doing the thing that makes our mana suck? This turn's kind of impressive, though. Wow. Wow, this is... The auto-tapper is really dumb sometimes, huh? And this is why you should always check. There's literally a white card in my hand. And it's not going to leave white up. As always, for people who are new to this stream, if you're wondering about questions in the deck list, I don't always have answers to why we're playing specific cards. A lot of these decks are viewer-submitted deck lists. Regards to the upcoming Play Standard event this weekend and give it an SP best of 1. What kind of deck? Yeah, just a random aggressive deck. Nope, not aggressively slanted to range. I'd go under people. I'd play the... Woof. I'd play the red-black aggro deck or the Mardu Knights deck. This card's pretty good. crank out a 3/3 every turn, and we have 7 lamp mana, so we get to do this. Like, getting to rebuild here after a sweeper is pretty impressive. Yeah, anthems that make tokens are pretty good. Especially 3/3 tokens. Like, super reasonable. Kind of gonna be surprised if they play this out. I feel like you want to just keep this to block. Yeah. I should technically wait on this in case they finality again. So I can't attack in here. They're dead on board, though. Nah, that's not true, because they have the Murderous Knight. And they can still pump this. Removal spell would be great. So, now they should be dead on board. Almost. Yeah, they go block, 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 go to 8, take 11. So if this is a blank, they're dead. Yep. All right. I am going to make a couple changes to this before I'm going to do that. I'm going to run upstairs really quick and do something. I'll be right back. Just a moment. So, should we be putting in removal? Why should we be putting in removal? This is now 18 white. That's too many. How many castles is too many? This is 13, 21, 23 lands is probably fine. This is 16 and 16 on the mana. Add a circle, add an acclaimed. Tournament grounds, it'd still be good in this deck. It is fixing. Kinda. It doesn't cast either of these cards. This is 24 lands. Yeah, I think 24 lands with 3 castles is probably fine, right? This card is less impressive since these aren't knights. Doom Foretold. Many of each player's upkeep that sacrifice a non-land, non-token permanent. If they can't, they discard a card, lose 2 life, draw a card, you gain 2 life, make a thing. I feel like this is probably good against control decks, right? Like against these like random fires decks. Like, is this not good there? Like people keep talking about cutting this card. Like this seems fine against a card to bring in against control, right? I think that seems more than reasonable there. Yeah, it's a soft combo with Midnight Reaper. Control deck flooded against you. Not really. Like, I feel like people are way too focused on the one control deck that's like the Doom that's focused around that card. That card against a normal control deck is very reasonable. Like, I feel like people are like, oh, there was this one deck that did well at this one tournament, and now that, like, this one 16-player tournament that was small and inbred, and, like, now everybody's like, that's the best thing. It's like, it's really not. The format's not well developed. There's a lot of different things going on, and I think there's a variety of control decks where Doom Foretold seems good. Most control decks don't want to be sacrificing a thing every turn. Thanks for the 12 months, Evan. Welcome back. Magic players, in my experience, frequently want to write formats off as solved as quickly as possible, just because if they write the format off as solved, it gives them an easy mental cop-out to stop doing work and to just complain about how the format is instead of, like, trying to innovate and change things. Nah, it's just every card game, Pelly. It's definitely far from a Champions thing. Alright, who's got 2 thumbs and gets slaughtered by a flame sweep? This guy right here. This is a pretty sick opener. Oh, this doesn't die to flame sweep. That's a good beat. I should have seen that one coming from a mile away. Should have seen that one coming from a mile away. We brought it on ourselves, chat. We have no one to blame but ourselves. It did not in fact die to flame sweep. Am I technically correct? Good morning, dude. It was good television, I agree. As much as it hurt on the inside, it was definitely good television. And this is, you know, that's what's missing from the sideboard. There's no Duresses in the sideboard of this deck, right? That's what we're missing. I feel like we're super dead. I feel like we're super dead. Wow, they just did that and missed on a land drop. It's pretty unlucky. Basically King Louis. Hey, look at that. My 3/3 found a 3/3. God bless. Alt Red Ranger, thanks for the brand new Prime support. Welcome to Hooglandia. I appreciate you keeping me around. Opponent is probably a Fires deck. Confirmed a Fires deck. How dead is my board? Very dead. Is new standard ruined already? Yes.
Don't worry, I got this.
I got this. They have Kenrith in their deck. That's great. Kenrith is good innovation. Kenrith is sweet innovation. Despark is excellent here. The lack of Duresses is not a good look. The lack of Duresses is not a good look. Huh? I think I'm supposed to trim this just so I don't want too much top end here. Yeah, we'll find out if Fires is good here, or Doomforce is good here, hopefully. No, I'm not convinced it's better than Duress. It's definitely a card that's reasonable here, but Duress is, like, also great here. This is very likely. I did see his deck with 4 main deck Aether Gust. Just like peak inbred. I think it's a sick decision. I am in for main deck Aether Gust. Like, goes green and red and everything in this format, right? Alright, well, you know, this is actually the same start we had last game, right? And that's one of the things we frequently talk about when playing decks like this. Is one of the reasons why, even though I think decks like this can be really good, is these decks tend to lack what I refer to as player agency. These are decks where you're not actually having play and counterplay. You're just going, do you have the thing? And the answer is no, you kill them. And the answer is yes, you die. That's just how it goes. And that's why decks like this in general tend to, unless decks like this are really good, you tend to see a lot of experienced players shy away from them because of that lack of player agency. All right. Duress, however, is a card that can help us punch through some amount of the time. So let's get a bunch of those in my sideboard, please. Getting to play on the ladder is so much better than playing in the constructed events. Not only is the deck quality significantly higher playing on the ladder, but being able to make edits between decks is refreshingly nice. Yeah, Danto Vanguard made these decks very resilient to those sweepers. Morning Neckfire. Yeah, we've seen some main deck grasps too. I agree. There's a lot of green creatures right now. Broko is like out in force. Huh? Is it crazy to bottom those and keep this? That's probably crazy. No, I think just straight black-white version is awful. That's why I'm currently playing a straight black-white version. Any thoughts on Unbreakable Formation? I know you want to spend rather than holding up 3 to counter a sweeper. So like, what's the point of that statement? So like, any thought to this card, here's the reason you don't want to play that card. So like, I'm kind of confused as to what you expect me to say as a response to that, because like, you presented an idea and then you presented why that idea was bad. So, yes, I agree with you that your idea is bad. I guess that's what you wanted me to say, I think. I don't know what to do with it. And like, that kind of critical thinking is good. I guess it's good to highlight that that's how you should be thinking, right? You can ask yourself the question, how do we address these sweepers? Well, Unbreakable Formation could do it, but I don't want to hold up mana for Unbreakable Formation because I'm tapping out early, right? Now, Duress is a better example of how to address cards like that, right? Like, Duress is a card where we go, okay, I can't hold up 3 mana. Duress costs me 1 mana, and I can probably sneak it in the first couple of turns because it's 1 mana, right? So Duress is looking at that problem and identifying a more realistic solution. This is my problem. This is how I'm attempting to fix it. In my opinion, that's the correct way to approach building decks in Magic. Find a problem, try to create a solution. So Acclaimed Contender here not only finds knights, but also finds aura, equipment, or legendary artifacts. So this can find the circle most notably. I'm typing up an argument about a card. As I explain my idea, I realize it's bad, but since I'm on a phone, it's easier to finish my statement and submit than backspace the whole thing. Fair. Fair, I accept your premise. And honestly, that's part of the reason why I always ask people, hey, think about and present a case for your ideas. Because I think a lot of the time when you sit down and actually start writing out why your idea is good, you might think about why you might struggle to do that. And if you struggle to do that, it's probably not good. So this deck as built is a little bit more mid-rangey, and I'm not sure if I like that overall. My gut says that the low to the ground Mardu build that we played is probably more ideal, because trying to be... No, it doesn't population zero, so the core of this deck was functionally different than what we had played previously as a Mardu deck. And I think it's a pretty important distinction, honestly. So I'm gonna do this and make this indestructible. Blue-green Flash has been pretty popular when we've been playing. I don't think that deck's very good, though, so we beat it most of the time when we play against it. Ryome! Welcome to the Knights of Hoaglandia. Thanks for keeping me around. Be sure to take a peek at the deck queue. Let me know if there's something that you'd like to see a little bit sooner. The Circle of Jeff. Do. See, we have to pay 4 mana to get a 2/2 or a 3/3. They just like plus their Planeswalker. Yikes. That's a 7/7. That's a 7/7. Mono blue is very dead. We played it yesterday and it was not ideal. So I can play this, and I can still activate Circle of Loyalty this turn. We're going to attempt to kill Nissa here on this combat. We played mono black instead, or we've not. We played a bunch of black red, but not mono black. Hey, Dude Light, thanks for the sub gifty. Happy October. Our pre-Eldraine black-white decks, you were high on Seraph of the Scales as a finisher to sweat. Is it worth considering in our current iteration? I don't think so. So if you think about the types of things that Seraph of the Scales is good against, and then you think about what's currently in the format, Seraph of the Scales is like really bad against these type of mid-rangey decks. So like again, Tell me what problem we have and tell me how you're solving it with your card suggestion. And if you think it through, I think you'll like start to realize why it's good or bad. Yeah, we're just getting dumpstered here. Let's get our Desparks and our Noxious Grasps in. A bunch of really good removal here. Trim Swordmaster. Feel like I want to just cut these lower quality creatures. Like, this deck isn't aggressive enough to really get under what this style of opponent is doing. So I think I have to like pull up to try and meet them in the middle a little bit. And that's where these types of decks really struggle. Like, I don't feel like we have good enough tools to appropriately meet them in the middle. Like, they're playing like Okos and Nissas and Hydroid Crisis. And if we can't get under those styles of cards, we're going to have a bad time. And I feel like these colors don't, and the way this deck is built doesn't have the tools to really get under it sufficiently. Hey, Tygo, welcome to Hoglandia. Thanks for the brand new tier 1 sub. Hope you're having an excellent one wherever you're at. This is fine. Yeah, it's really awful against Baby Teferi. And I added Duress to the sideboard. I think adding Duress to solve that problem is much better than trying to add a clunky 4-drop. I also think your identification of like aggro decks bad against 3-mana sweeper, try and pull up is like you just want to play a different deck. If you don't want to lose to 3-mana sweepers when they get cast, this isn't the deck for you. Would be my largely my takeaway. Not every deck can beat every card. Is something to be painfully aware of. Wow! I was gonna cast this card and it was gonna use both my black sources while I had a black 1-drop in my hand. Did the auto tapper get worse in the last few updates? Does it just like not prioritize these cards correctly? Yep, alright. Well, at least they had to use their food there, huh? So we get to do this and then grass this and smack them? 15 months, should my wife be worried? I won't tell her, don't worry. Welcome back, Fuzzy Thentos. You think Wizards will do something similar to Expedition where there's a low chance you could open a gold border card in Arena that you can only get through packs? I have no idea, Gargantuan. Probably not. I think they stand to make more money by letting you just buy them directly. Put my tier 2 towards UG food? Definitely. 10 out of 10. You would like to bounce my knight that then makes another token. Deal Areno. Corpse Knight plus Worthy Knight is kind of a sweet one too, huh? So, I said this deck is more mid-rangey than a deck that's super low to the ground, which is accurate. So, like, decks range on a spectrum usually, but, like, my deck that's largely cards that cost 3 and less isn't really a true mid-range deck, right? Like, if you look at, God, that's good. If you look at the curve of this deck, and like, you know, this plan seems to be working okay here, right? Like a bunch of Noxious Grasps and Despark seems like a reasonable place to be. Deep Scoops, thank you for the tip. I appreciate it. For Jeskai Fires, sounds good. Yeah, having this here could be the answer to like getting to cut through here. Worthy Knight's very good when it goes unchecked. You can't draft Eldraine yet? Seriously? Is that normal? In 10 days? That's so weird. Oh, you can draft best of 3. Okay, that makes sense. You can't free-to-play draft with gold set release. Okay. That's kind of crummy, but at least it exists somewhere. All right, that's a good one. Now the problem with this one here, and this is just the goose is just so miserable. Land War Elves turn 1 ramp is obnoxious. News at 11. Yep. Okay, well I guess we're just killing this on 2, huh? Like if I played this, it could just get Wicked Wolf next turn, which is just like not ideal. The goose is very good. The goose has thoroughly been set loose. Yeah, four Noxious Grasps in most sideboards is the way to go. Second Circle of Loyalty feels kind of bad. I'm gonna keep the Worthy Knight there. If they don't have the big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? The big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? The Mardu Knights or Black Red Knights. You can find videos of those linked on my website. Although the current deck lists are foobarred because the plugin's messed up, so you'll have to click through to the YouTube channel. The second triggers the first. Oh yeah, that's true. So you can cast the second one as just like a 2/2. Sure. That's a good takeaway. It's a good observation. This is just such an uphill battle. They just have so many Flame Tongue Kavus. They have like a bunch of Flame Tongue Kavus. They have just an endless supply of extra life. Like, definitely feels like hopeless swimming upstream. Like, am I supposed to murder this goose so they don't have this endless supply of food? I feel like I am. I feel like I'm supposed to murder the goose so I can eventually kill the wolf. And like, maybe if they don't have another payoff for a little bit here, we can get out of this. Maybe. Worthy Knight says whenever we cast a night spell, we get a 1/1 human token. So we do have a string of chump blockers here, which is nice. We are not playing Legion's End, no. We have 4 Noxious Grasps and 2 Desparks. Feels dead. Once you hit this portion of the game against the opponent's archetype, you just can't keep up, basically. You should get a food token if you kill the goose. I like that idea. Yeah, green's good, but we have we have good tools to keep up with them. Like, not every color combination, every idea is going to be playable, right? Like, these mid-range style aggressive decks really struggled in previous seasons too. So if they continue to struggle because there's similar tools available, it's not really going to be surprising to me. No, it doesn't do anything, JMP. Just crack it open and get your wild cards. If you want to bump a deck that's already in the queue into today's stream, it's a $50 donation. If you want that deck to get played tomorrow, it's much less than that, especially in the standard queue. The standard queue is getting played super quickly these days. The standard decks we're playing today have like 25 to 21 points. We did top 1,000. Dead weight. Okay, that's a card. It is also top 1,200 now. That is true. That's just not true, Squid Squad. Nothing prevents MTGA from hemorrhaging memory. Don't lie. I mean, this card isn't strictly worse than Disfigure. It's kind of just different, right? This is a pretty solid curve. And another thing, too, is, and this is something that I think a lot of people don't put enough consideration into, when we talk about decks like this really struggling against the Nissa-style ramp decks, unless the format's incredibly narrow, a deck having one bad matchup usually doesn't mean it's unplayable, right? Like, having a bad matchup against a popular deck usually keeps you from becoming a tier 1 deck, but being fringe playable around the edges, like, having one bad matchup doesn't discredit something. It feels exceptionally bad when you run into that unwinnable matchup 2 or 3 times in a row through a bad string of beats, but in general. One of the 5-0 lists had Deadweight and Fine Broker, and it would guard mid-range shell like it's 2018. Can I just speak to the fact how incredibly depressing it is that one of the best sources of data for deck lists on Magic Arena Standard is looking at Magic Online results? Can I just point out how incredibly sad that is? Just kind of unreal how sad that is. Why can't we just get some amount of data out of Arena? Who would have thought Birds of Paradise is good, right, J-Wall? Thanks for the 2 months. Welcome back. To White Ninja, thanks for the brand new Prime support. I appreciate that. Thanks for keeping me around. We have this shiny new toy, and the best place to get early data surrounding the format is from the people who are still willing to slog through playing on the 1990 Honda Civic. Valone! Thanks for the 14 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. I mean, the lack of data is very much intentional. The data exists, it's just not shared, which is their prerogative, and it's kind of the expectation. going to trim Smitten Swordsmith and bring in these Midnight Reapers. My opponent's deck seems like they're more mid-range. I don't know exactly what they're doing. They mostly just died without casting much. So, again, when your deck's kind of aggressive, less is more when sideboarding. Like, even if Wizards just like, and like, we have constructed events on Arena, right? Could you imagine if WotC just like dumped random 5-1 and 5-0 runs from the constructed event? It would probably encourage people to play those events, right? Like even if you can't, even if you don't want to share ladder data, like you could dump stats from there. Give people neat things to look at. Sounds good, Dude Light. Towards the green stomping deck. Easy mulligan here. No white sources. Hand's fine. Not amazing, but fine. One of the groups of people that makes a Hearthstone deck tracker was supposed to be working on something similar for Arena. Wonder if it's just taking them longer than expected or if they mostly gave up on it. Just Midnight Reaper here. I could like Murderous Rider and smack them for 2, but I think getting this down so I start drawing cards when my stuff dies is ideal. Like if they play like Big Bad Wolf and eat this next turn, I want to draw a card from it. Yeah, untapped. It doesn't have a lot of data published yet, though, right? From my understanding, WotC told them they weren't going to cease and desist them, Chumos. Like, they had talked to people at WotC before they started, from my understanding. They have stopped people from posting data in the past. That is definitely true. I think I'm looking for a bigger payoff than that. Too many Flame Tongue Kavus on the dance floor, chat. So, is there a payoff for Circle of Loyalty over a card like Icon of Ancestry? Yeah, Circle of Loyalty powers up all of our creatures, which notably includes the tokens that Worthy Knight generates. So whereas Icon of Ancestry would only power up our Knight tokens. This gives Death Touch to a Knight, so we'll get to attack through this 2/3, which is great. I mean, just like so Drakenstern, what you're doing is you're focusing on a very specific use of the card and not looking at the card as a whole. A 3/1 for 2 is just like pretty on rate, and like you need to consider like anything you get past it being a 3/2 for 2 is just added utility, basically. So like you're not playing this card because it's this really awesome combat trick. You're playing this card because like the rate is pretty okay. And, like, anything you get past that rate is upside. Is how I would encourage you to look at the card. Skylands are busted. High floor card. And when it's at its worst, it's still pretty good. That's how I would think about it. So I'm going to hold on to this now because next turn when I attack into this, we get to Black Knight, whatever it blocks. It is, yeah, Murder Helix is a great way to put it. Modern blue-black control shells. Maybe? I hadn't thought about that, but like, it is kind of Lightning Helix in a lot of ways. And those decks definitely struggle to... Huh? Yeah, sure. Those decks definitely struggle to gain life. It is often Murder Helix. What's it called? Should be updated. Is Deckmaster not on? Yeah, Deckmaster is on. It's missing Murderous Rider, but it has the rest of the cards. It doesn't like adventure cards. So on this attacks, it gives a fellow knight indestructible. So this is a free attack. These two trade. They go to 8. So, I mean, we're kind of ahead on board, but they've got 3 cards in hand, so that's scary. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Sparkles. Great. 1 Murderous Rider, please. Huh? Well, that gives us something to do with our pile of mana, at least. Stops them from attacking in. That's an interesting choice to murder. They have another removal spell? Just have another removal spell. Yeah, makes sense. They could have, I actually really like the standard constructive end. Yeah, I actually, so, to give credit where credit's due when things are good versus bad, like, people talk about a ladder system versus not. I actually really like Magic Online system for competitive play. How you just, like, farm points and then you use the points to enter the mock style event, as opposed to, like, needing a specific rank on a ladder. Gives you a specific threshold you need to cross, as opposed to, gives you a specific threshold you need to cross, as opposed to a, So we weren't quite sure what they were doing after we killed them in the first game, so I wasn't sure if these were going to be great. I probably just should have assumed. Let's try this again. Would you agree right now that standard feels grindy and slower? I would agree Actually, I don't agree. I don't agree with that at all. I would say that your anecdotal evidence is not data, and that in your I would agree or believe that your random small sample size has been a bunch of grindy matches, but I would also bet that you're playing grindy decks. So if you're playing grindy decks, then I would bet that your games are grindy on average. I would bet that most people like playing grindy decks more than playing aggro decks, and especially at the start of a format, it's more fun to explore grindy decks than it is to explore aggro decks. Roxer Boxers, thanks for the $25 tip. I appreciate it. Here's to a Golos Kenrith build around. Sounds phenomenal. Was that an example of not having player agency? Nah, we just flooded and died there a little bit. I feel like we had plenty of choices that game. Just like, sometimes you just lose. Sometimes you just get got. This is a pretty good start. Worthy Knight into Corpse Knight. Let's pump out the drain. Oh, this card is so fucking miserable. Just getting 2-for-1 by that card out of your hand is just like cards like that. We're talking about lack of player agency. Cards like this are a phenomenal example of lack of player agency. Because like this card, you actually just can't play around it because it also takes the one out of your hand, right? So like that's a card where it's just like, well, I might as well play them out because they're dead if they're in my hand too. I think it's completely unnecessary for this card to take them out of the hand. Jake is still doing Boy Scout stuff. The bot is dead though. Stupid. It's you really don't realize how much you depend on your tools until they don't work. All right, there we go. Grabbed it from Discord. At least Discord works, I guess. Am I gonna do this? I'm gonna do this. I assume this is dying when we enter combat. Really? Yeah, if MTG Bot doesn't pack all of its stuff up into a backpack and get it together, we're definitely going to be changing to a different bot next week. It'll be a project. I'm planning to take most of the weekend off, I think, this weekend, so well, we'll do that as part of my off-stream work over the weekend. This is Indestructible and Death Touch, friendo. Hey, thanks for being one of my most wonderful subs. Oh, that's an artifact. I'm so dumb. Brontodon's leg sitting there staring at my face. Because a lot of people on Twitch watch Twitch for the person streaming, not just for the game that they're playing air. So like, one of the reasons why it's very smart for Wizards to sponsor people who have large audiences from other games is they bring a lot of new people in. So, you know, like, people like Fizz stream Hearthstone to tens of thousands of people. This deck felt like a bit of a miss for me. Both Mardu and when we pulled the other color out to make it more consistent, I felt like this deck was sitting in kind of that aggressive mid-range slot that we saw last season struggled to be competitive. I don't feel like decks like this have the tools to be competitive against these ramp decks. So unless the ramp decks become non-existent, but I would be very surprised if that's the case, I would not recommend playing something like this. So if you're looking for knights, the low to the ground Mardu knights that we played, or the red-black build that we've been playing a little bit of that's more aggressive than this, I think are both better directions to go in than what this black-white build is doing. All right, we're going to play a couple of different henge decks here coming up next. We're going to start with some green-black.